So I thought I was going to finish it with the last video, but there's one more anecdote that I think is really helpful with Hume. Okay? And in particular, Hume is quoted with saying that reason is and ought to be a slave to the passions. Reason is and ought to be a slave to the passions. Now what he means here, and the way that I've kind of understood, and I kind of try to teach this quote, is that ultimately, if we think about, emotions as our driving force, like if we think about a car, right, that I'm driving the car and ultimately reason takes a back seat. That often when we think about our lives, even in 2016, often what it is we do is we act in such a way where our emotions are the guiding energy. Right? That even when we have those thoughts where we say, oh man, maybe I shouldn't do this, or I should really study for this exam, but I don't want to, right? I want to go play Ultimate Frisbee with my friends, right? And you have this tension between what it is you think you should do and what it is you want to do, right? This head and the heart distinction, right? If you want to get all lovey about it or something. But ultimately, right, where reason takes a back seat to our emotions, to how it is we feel. And I think a really great example of this, a challenging example of this, is perhaps the act of infidelity. So let's say, for instance, you're in a committed relationship, perhaps you're married, and ultimately, and you're trying to do what is best and how to operate in that committed sense of monogamous marriage or monogamous relationship. But then you meet somebody new at work or perhaps at the gym somewhere, right? You have some immediate feelings, right? You start to feel something. Perhaps you have little butterflies in your stomach, right? Feelings that you recognize, but you don't really want to entertain because you know you shouldn't entertain them. Perhaps a couple of steps go by, a couple of days and weeks go by, and those feelings only continue to grow. And so now you find yourself perhaps, in the car, again, go back to the car, perhaps driving to go meet up with this new person. Perhaps, and you're driving there, and you probably have a range of emotions. You're probably, one, excited. You're excited, you're enticed, seeing where the day is going to go, seeing where this potential relationship might go. But then you also, right, are probably feeling remorse, shame, guilt. Because ultimately you have this moment where you're probably like, I shouldn't do this. It's not fair to my wife. It's not fair to my husband. It's not fair to my partner. Right? And you have this kind of, this pretty substantial moral dilemma. You're like, I shouldn't do this. But then you go through with it. You go meet this new person. You spend time with them. Even when you know maybe you shouldn't. So what's happening here? For Hume, he explains this in terms of our emotions. And ultimately, to claim any sort of objective morality, any sort of objective moral propositions is really, really difficult. Because even if I were to claim, well, I shouldn't go do that, I shouldn't go have this affair, but then I go and do it, right? It's based in the emotions. And that often, maybe more times than not, our emotions override our ability to reason. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for adulterous situations or infidelity or anything like that. But rather, I think it's just one of the best possible anecdotes to describe this tension and distinction of what Hume really is working with. This kind of tension between how it is we feel and how that really does play a role in a lot of our decisions. And we will see how Kant responds in a couple of days.